Patrocínio. Norte Avenue Bakery. Hotel Praia Sol. Luís Firmino Insurance. MCM Clinic. Top Burger. Go Car Service. Coimbra Restaurant.
Olá, caros amigos, muito boa tarde, bem-vindos a mais um Legal Way. É um prazer, é um privilégio estarmos na vossa companhia. And without further notice, let's talk because we have a lot to discuss today. And I'd like to welcome Dr. George Russo. Once again, thank you for being here. A lot of change, Doctor.
Thanks for having me. Yes, it's been an eventful past couple of weeks.
Yes, and thank you, by the way, for the several questions that we want to touch bases, and we're going to go straight to the point. Just make sure if you have any questions, go ahead and contact us throughout the messenger, phone, email, every single way, because there's a lot of change, there's a lot of new things that you must need to know. And keep present. We're going to conduct that in English because it will be easier for us to explain. But if you need any other explanation, either or in Portuguese or Spanish, we'll be able to do that as well. So, Doctor, let's start. The USCIS just issued a new policy memo on green cards. What does that matter and exactly what happened?
Oh, so specifically, USCIS, which is U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, issued a new memorandum on Friday that basically says they are going to change the process with which USCIS decides green card applications. So it's important to note that this is not a change in the law, but it is a change in USCIS's process. So what that means is that for people who are here inside the United States, they have to be careful about filing green card applications that they would have otherwise filed, right? So there's two main ways to get a family-based green card. There's what's called consular processing, which is where you go to a consulate, a U.S. consulate or embassy abroad, and you have your interview there. Or what's called an adjustment of status. An adjustment of status is when you change your status from a different type of status to green card status. Adjustments of status happen here in the United States, and it is those adjustments of status that are what is changed as of Friday.
So basically, what can happen is someone that is applying for a green card could need to go to their country to get that green card, correct? That brings family separation, so many issues.
That's exactly what USCIS is saying is their preferred path. That's what they're saying is the way that they intended it to be. However, of course, that's not been the policy since the 1970s, right? They're just kind of making this up. Congress wrote the laws are on the books. They're just choosing to interpret it in their own way to make things more difficult. So what they're saying is that adjustments of status should only be granted under what's called a form of extraordinary relief. When you hear the term extraordinary, legally speaking, that means something that doesn't normally happen, something that is way outside what they want to happen. So it needs to have really good equities, really good proof, really good positive outweighs the negative factors in your case. So they're telling people that no, you should go back to your home country in order to do your green card interview unless there is an extraordinary reason why you should do it here. And of course, for a lot of people, they simply cannot go back.
No. They also mentioned that could be some exceptions, but again, it's based on their interpretation, right? It's not a set of rules or guidelines that they want to implement it.
Yeah, well, they've put out their memorandum, right? It's a 7-page document that says like what they're doing, but right away you could tell that there was a heavy criticism to it. They've already started walking back parts of it. because some of it just doesn't make sense, right? People that are here on visas are technically people that have already been vetted at some level by when you got your visa, right? So an interesting example would be, well, besides an H-1B or someone who's here on an employment visa who has maintained their status legally through their employment visa, and they're in legal status, and all of a sudden they want to file that adjustment of status to green card. Well, USCIS's memo doesn't really foreclose the idea that that person might have to give up their job, their family, and go back for however many months to their home country for a green card interview. Makes no sense.
I have someone asking that is waiting for a green card, so everything is being approved about a month and a half ago, waiting for a green card. What that entails, that new rule for that person jeopardizing that application, they need to go back.
What do they mean? What do they mean waiting for a green card?
Everything is being approved. They're waiting for them to send a green card.
Oh, this is not going to apply to them.
That will not apply. Will be only for K.
Yeah, the decision's already been made, and a lot of people are panicking about green card applications that have already been pending, and there's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of green card applications that are currently pending or were pending when this was filed. There's strong legal arguments to say that this memo should not apply to applications that have been previously filed. We'll see how USCIS interprets that.
Doctor, can you tell us exactly what is adjustment of status? What that, in simple terms?
It literally means changing your status. So from whatever status you currently have to green card, okay? So you could be out of status. If you are on a tourist visa, you could be changing your tourist visa to green card. You could be overstayed from a tourist visa to green card. You could be on a student visa, an F1 visa, changing that to green card. That's basically what that is. You're asking the government to change your status while you're here inside the United States.
Let's talk about ESTA overstay specifically. What will be the concern for the people in that particular situation?
Yeah, that's a big concern. It's a big concern because ESTA, there's some of the people that have perhaps the most consequences if something goes wrong on one of their applications. And the reason for that is people on ESTA don't apply for a tourist visa. They are visa waiver. So countries in Europe, especially Portuguese, Australia, South Korea, Japan. These people have 90 days to enter the United States, but they cannot stay longer than 90 days. And in exchange for that privilege, they forego or would give up their right to full deportation proceedings. So if something goes wrong, they don't have the same type of defense from deportation that someone who entered on a B1, B2 tourist visa, say from Brazil or Ecuador, would have.
So this is a big concern for people from countries like Portugal that will, if they overstay, they can jeopardize the entire process or even the hopes to one day to become citizens.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's a huge concern, and we have to be careful about that. You should not be filing one of these on your own. And I just want to make it clear that this memo just came out Friday. Everyone panicked Friday, panicked over the weekend, and we still don't know. We still don't know how it's gonna play out in practice, right? So we'll have to keep you advised as to how they're actually implementing it.
We're going to keep it. Just want to mention that we can contact directly Dr. George Russo through the phone number 973-344-9120. He just mentioned something that I think that is extremely important. In today's world, it is extremely important that you contact an attorney to file your paperwork. Don't try to do that by yourself, by your friend, by your neighbor, just because they did. The things are changing drastically, and a simple mistake can jeopardize a complete application, your complete future. What kind of things will officers now weigh against an applicant when a situation occurred?
Well, basically everything. They're going to be looking at talking specifically about people who have, this is for people who specifically have a prior legal entry, right? People who entered through the border, the majority of the time are not allowed to adjust their status in the US, right? So what the officers are going to be looking at is the individual's preconceived intent, which is their intent when they first entered the United States, right? So someone on ESTA, for example, from Portugal, when they show up at Newark Airport and they present their visa waiver application that's been approved, they say, I am here for tourism, I'm here for tourism for no more than 90 days. If they take any action within those 90 days or shortly thereafter that might provide some type of different intent, the officers can weigh that against their application. So they can also take into account working without authorization. I recently heard of a case where it was factored in that they used a fake ID to work or something like that. They can take into account anything really that might.
So it's extremely important to be careful and not doing nothing that can jeopardize our intent to. Now, this seems to be a big change, or an intent to change is a memo to apply. What are the biggest concerns for families right now? What they should do?
Keeping together documents are probably the most important thing, right? Keeping together documents that show your presence, that show your compliance with the law, which is tax documents, keeping together proof of that you're a member of the community, stuff like that. That's the most important thing, because the new memo uses the term unusual or even outstanding equities, right? Equities means like positive factors. That's what they're looking for. So we're just going to have to wait and see how it plays out, right? And I don't want to tell anyone, because I don't want to tell anyone exactly what to do in order to qualify under the new memo, because no one knows how they're going to decide based on this new memo.
I have someone asking that question. So they went to an interview to provide paperwork to the wife, so an American citizen. They went through the first interview. They scheduled a second interview. What concern they should have right now?
Green card interview?
Green card interview for the wife, yes.
Well, a second interview is typically called a Stokes interview, named after a prior case. That is basically an interview where they found something irregular during the first interview or something that they want to follow up on. Typically this happens when spouses give differing answers during the first interview.
Correct.
The first interview is typically limited to 15 to 30 minutes. That officer, has a bunch of files to get through the day, and they're not doing a full dive into the file typically. And if something comes up where they give a different answer, and these officers, they know, they've done thousands of these interviews. They can kind of tell when something might be off. So a second interview will come in, and that interview will not have a time limit, and they will go in deeply into the questions to try and figure out if this is a legitimate relationship or not.
I see. Can someone be denied if they are technically eligible on paper?
Absolutely, absolutely. We've had cases where people are just nervous. We've had cases where now you got to bring your own translator to a USCIS interview, any interview, even a citizenship interview, where, for example, you're Portuguese and your interpreter is Portuguese, but they speak Portuguese from Brazil, and maybe there's something that doesn't quite translate exactly the way it should, but the officer only hears what the translator said, and maybe they're nervous, right?
Correct.
This is kind of an interesting example, but like I heard of a case where there were Europeans that were getting married, European backgrounds.
Correct.
And one of the questions that the officer asked was about the type of air conditioning unit that is inside their apartment.
Correct.
Many European households do not have much air conditioning.
Correct.
So the European beneficiary got it wrong, basically, mix up the type of air conditioning, and that was the main reason why, not denied, referred for a secondary interview, right? But you can clean that stuff up. Being referred to a secondary interview does not mean that you're going to get denied. It just means that you need to get your ducks in a row, so to speak.
Doctor, this new memo, can that be challenged? What do you think, or what happened right now? Because you just mentioned that come out on Friday. We see attorneys try to understand the process, working through the process. What can these change?
It's absolutely going to be challenged. AILA, which is the American Immigration Lawyers Association, and I'm sure the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, they've definitely signaled that they're going to be challenging this memo. I don't know how likely they are to be. There was legally speaking, there was a Supreme Court case in 2022, went all the way to the Supreme Court, Patel v. Garland. That was a case that basically said the Supreme Court, the federal courts cannot challenge decisions made by government agencies like USCIS that are based on discretion. Discretion means that officer's own individual judgment. Like the federal courts are not going to be going in and reanalyzing your individual green card case. That would simply make everything too efficient and would clog up the system, right? But the challenge to this will most likely be that it is a blanket policy that is just used as, a reason to deny every case, no matter the facts. That's what the challenge is going to be. Hopefully it succeeds. I don't know exactly how likely it is, but I'm sure we'll find out.
Doctor, to conclude this topic, because we have a lot to talk still, what is your advice to our viewers tonight? What do you think for the ones that are in the limbo of this decision? What are the most important things to keep together?
Well, don't assume that your case is straightforward just because someone else went through a similar situation, right? So eligibility for a green card hasn't changed. The law has not changed, but preparation now matters more than ever. You need to be prepared. You need to have your forms filled out right. You need to have your supporting evidence filled out right. And if you're going into an interview with an officer that now has this memo in front of them or that's being emailed to them by their supervisors, you need to be able to answer the questions in a way that helps position your case to win.
So basically, the person should keep the right thoughts straight, making sure that he's aware of everything that can happen, but making sure that the answers that are provided are accurate and make sense.
Exactly.
Doctor, I want to change a little bit topics. Once again, I want to keep the information. If you want to contact Dr. George Russo, 973-344-9120. They are located at 48 Wilson Avenue here in the city of Newark. Again, we are conducting this interview in English because it's so many things, so many terminology that needs to be correctly provided. But Dr. George Russo does attend and is fluent in Portuguese and also in Spanish. Dr. ICE, big topic, Delaney Hall, a lot of issues, but more important, what happened with the ICE in Newark? I know that you have some information. Keep us updated. What's happening right now?
Well, every once in a while, immigration lawyers get together with ICE and, we do a question and answer. We ask them, what the current priorities are, what's changing structurally, are there any new developments, is there any information that they can share with us? A lot of times, well, the answer from ICE is always everything is evaluated on a case-by-case basis, right? That's what most ICE officers will say. But as far as New Jersey is concerned, ICE is growing, right? ICE Newark has grown to over 200 officers. There's going to be a new enforcement office in Cranberry, New Jersey, which is one of the USCIS offices right off the turnpike, that they say they're going to have over 100 people working there. People have seen on the news that ICE has purchased a building in Roxbury, New Jersey. That is still very much to be determined as to what they're going to use it for or how they're going to use it. But once we find out, we'll let you know.
Now, as far as this ICE presence, so more agents means more presence. The situation at Delaney Hall, any insights, what exactly is happening, and for someone that are at Delaney Hall right now, what they need to take in consideration and why it's important to contact a lawyer?
Well, right now there is a hunger strike going on by inmates at Delaney Hall that say that they have poor conditions there. Okay, and I've read emails from people. None of my clients personally, but I've read emails from people that have said that they know people in there that have been experiencing some less than appropriate conditions, without getting into specifically exactly what it is, right? But anytime this happens, it turns into a political stunt. ICE says that everything's fine. The Democrats say that they're doing it just to cut corners and make money, and because it's a private group, the GEO Group is who runs Delaney Hall.
Correct.
So when it's a private group, profits mean everything. So it's quite possible that they're cutting back. But right now there is a hunger strike. There have been clashes for 6 days. Hopefully they can come to a solution soon, because honestly the negative attention is not...
Is bringing more attention.
It's bringing more attention, and now you have the Secretary of Homeland Security who says we're going to cut international flights from Newark Airport and other sanctuary cities. Like, they're going to... The most important is that the people that are being held at Delaney Hall need to be treated fairly and humanely, right? But the more negative attention that gets brought to this, the more likely someone like our Secretary of Homeland Security is going to do something dumb. But the most important thing that you can do is to speak with your family, speak with a lawyer, and make sure you are documenting everything that's happening into you there. If you're not getting your medication, if you're not being fed, if you're being treated poorly by anything, document it, because that's the type of case that can be taken to federal court and challenged.
Doctor, you mentioned Newark Airport. Also, the news today that international flights may be stopped or could be stopped in airports like Newark, sanctuary cities, because of immigration policy. I know that you went to the airport. Exactly, this is a very dangerous situation, because it's someone that come up with an idea, and even the Newark Airport or any other airport employees are kind of lost.
Right.
What happened exactly? What is the feedback that you have for us from your interaction today?
Well, earlier today I went to a meeting with CBP officials at Newark Airport. Those are the people. So there's CBP, which is Custom and Border Patrol, and then there's ICE. They are two very different organizations, right? They make clear they want you. Even though we know, like immigration lawyers know, like they tell you during the meeting, we're not ICE. Okay, we don't know what ICE is up to. That's what they say, at least. But these are the people that are in charge of the border. The border means obviously the southern border, the northern border, and also airports. They're the people that you greet when you come back from your overseas trip to Portugal, Brazil, or wherever. They have no idea what's going on with this proposed pause of international flights to Newark Airport. They're just as clueless as all of us, right? They wake up and they check the news and see what's happened.
The impact can be drastic. Think about if there's no planes coming in, for sure will not be planes
Right.
going back. So think about Portugal. Think about you need a plane to be here, to go back, and that becomes disruptive and all the sense. But the most important thing here, and since we're talking about immigration, is why this announcement? Is that a retaliation to sanctuary cities or policies? Is this bringing more fear, or this can bring more decisions like the memo that we spoke previously?
Yeah, I mean, it's just another decision that it's bluster. It's bluster. Like it's just another decision that's going to backfire on them in a spectacular way. Like just like this adjustment of status memo is already causing a lot of backlash, even from people who you wouldn't think would be like opposed to something like this. But think about where airports are located, right? Like they're in sanctuary cities.
Yep.
Newark Airport, JFK is in Queens, right? Chicago O'Hare, LAX,
Correct.
like these are Miami. These are all, well, I don't know if Miami's a sanctuary city, but these are all sanctuary cities. And you know who's going to push back harder than ever? The airlines.
Correct.
When they have to spend more fuel to transit to other airports, and people have to keep dealing with all this, well, all the chaos. If they did put this into effect, I'm sure that it will be stopped right away. It's a ridiculous idea.
Doctor, to conclude, I have a question from a viewer that is asking, is waiting for a citizenship interview. Any concerns regarding this memo for people applying to become citizens in the United States, or should be straightforward, or can they expected something new aligned with this situation for green card or applicants?
Well, this memo does not specifically address citizenship applications. So if he's applying for citizenship, that means he's had his green card for at least 5 years or 3 years if he got his green card through marriage. So what he should expect are questions about how he got the green card. That officer might look into the whole preconceived intent that we talked about. Probably not, though. They'll look into the eligibility questions, whether or not the person has spent more than 6 months outside the United States on the green card. They'll look into whether or not he's committed any crimes, and then whether or not he meets the other statutory requirements for naturalization. But as for whether or not this memo impacts them, almost certainly not.
Doctor, thank you very much. I know that we covered a lot. Is anything else in that to-do list that you have that we should bring to people's attention?
Just keep paying attention. Keep paying it. If you're someone that is going to be getting a green card or going to be applying for a green card or knows anyone that's going through the process, just keep paying attention and try to filter out the noise, because the way people got green cards in the past might not be the way you get green cards now and moving forward. Although I am quite confident that this policy will not last beyond, say, January 2029.
Correct.
But just know that the law has not changed, but the way you approach getting a green card, that has changed. And you should not try to do it on your own. You should not think that it's simple. You should definitely speak to a lawyer that is following what's going on and prepare your case in the best way.
And one of those lawyers for sure is Dr. George Russo. Once again, 973-344-9120. They are located at 48A Wilson Avenue here in the city of Newark. Again, we decided to conduct this interview in English because it's extremely important that we use the right terminology for you to be aware of the change, but the Dr. Russo does speaks Portuguese, Spanish, so making sure that you make that contact. And again, every single decision should start and going forward with an attorney, because doing in your own doctor can be a higher price.
Yes, definitely.
Doctor, thank you very much for your time. Those 30 minutes went quick.
Really, my pleasure.
And for sure, we're going to be here in a couple of weeks again to speak about all these situations. And if there's any bigger change, for sure, the Dr. George Russo will be with us sooner. Thank you, Doctor.
My pleasure.
And
Thanks.
this is, once again, The Legal Way. It is always a pleasure to be with you. Have a great night.
Este programa tem o patrocínio North Avenue Bakery, Hotel Praia Sol, Luís Firmino Insurance, MCM Clinic, Top Burger, Go Car Service, Coimbra Restaurant.